Good morning, grade 5s, and welcome back. Our lesson for today is going to be on common metals and their special properties. But before we move on to today's lesson, I'll just want to do a short recap on what we covered last time. We spoke about properties of nonmetals, and we then compared the properties of nonmetals to metals, and I'm sure most of us now understand the difference between the two. Those of you who did not do the corrections or who did not mark the activity that was given to you last time, these are the corrections. All you need to do is pause the screen and then you mark the activity, and please mark in pencil. And if you've got any of these answers wrong, do your corrections in pencil. So we move on now to today's work, and like I said, we're going to be talking about our common metals and their special properties. Our first metal is iron, and I'm sure you've heard of people talking about corrugated iron, and you wonder, what is this corrugated iron? You've been to Builders Warehouse and other areas that sell building material, and I'm sure you have found or you have seen something that looks like this. So your corrugated iron, this is iron that has been hammered into shape and dipped in molten zinc or steel to make it resistant to weathering and rust. So it is iron, but this iron has been dipped, or it has been coated, a layer of quite expensive material has been used on it to make it resistant to weathering and rust. What is weathering? Weathering means breaking down. So what you do is you make your sheets, okay? Remember we said that metal is malleable. It can be made into sheets. So you make your sheet out of iron, and then you coat that sheet with expensive material, which can be your zinc or your steel, and by so doing you are stopping it from weathering or breaking down. If you remove that zinc or steel, or if you don't paint it properly, then your iron will start to rust. Here is an example of a corrugated iron sheet that has rusted. You see, it's starting to break down, and it will continue breaking down as long as it is exposed to water and oxygen. Alright, our next one is our cast iron. We're still dealing with iron. Cast iron, this is iron that has been melted, poured into a mold, and allowed to cool. What is a mold? A mold is a hollow container used to give shape to molten or liquid material, which when it cools and hardens. So you melt your iron into a liquid state, and then you pour that iron that is in liquid state into a mold. A mold is like a container with a shape. So this is your iron. I'm sure some of you have used this iron before. If you don't have electricity and you need to iron, you can actually use this iron here. And what you do is you make your fire, and then you take the hot coals and put them inside here. And remember last time I said that metals were very good conductors of heat. So if you put your hot coals inside here, this whole metal is going to conduct the heat. It's going to draw the heat from the coals and make this whole thing very, very hot. But look at that handle there. They did not continue and make the handle in metal as well. They changed the handle to something that is non-metal. There's wood there, non-metal, and we said wood was a very bad conductor of heat, which means that even if this heats up and becomes very, very hot, the handle will still be cool, and you can continue ironing without burning your fingers. So This cast iron here the iron has been poured into a mold, and it has taken that shape. Okay, and then this one here, the same thing has been done. It's molten material or molten iron that has been poured into a mold and then let down to cool. So you let it cool down, and then after some time you remove it from the mold and you get your pot, which looks like this. You've got your horseshoes there as well. They also use molds so that the outcome is the same shape as the mold. If you have this pot at home, or if you've got an iron like that at home, I want you to go and observe it. Open the pot and you'll find that the inside of the pot is rusting. Or maybe if you've got that, you find that at times you get patches of rust here. Why is this rusting? This is rusting because, remember we said if you expose your metal, especially iron, if you expose it to moisture and oxygen, it will start to rust. So in the rural areas and other places, or in places where people use this kind of pot most of the times, you'll find that once they've finished using it, they line the inside, or they put some oil on the inside to stop it from rusting. Alright, so let's look at the properties of iron. Okay, so our iron is a very strong metal. It is hard, it's ductile, meaning that it can be drawn into wire. It's malleable. You can actually hammer it into sheets. It has a high melting point. In order for you to change that iron from solid to liquid, you've got to expose it to very high temperatures. It is silver grey in color. It is used to make tools, rooftops, weapons, and pots. It is prone, or it is likely to rust. Okay, so that's our iron there. And then we have properties of gold and silver. Gold and silver are very precious metals, and they are malleable, they are ductile, they have high melting points, they have a high density, meaning that they are very heavy, they are shiny and they've got that luster in them. They are used to make ornaments and jewelry like rings, necklaces, bracelets, watches, gold and silver in color. Okay, so there are some of the ornaments there. We've got our rings and all the other jewelry that you can use. And these are some of the properties of our most precious metals that we find in South Africa. The next one is properties of copper. Copper, I'm sure most of you have seen copper. It looks like that. If your dad doesn't want to use some of his, chargers and stuff like that, you'll find that the charger has got copper wire inside, or some electrical wires have got copper wires inside. What they have on the outside is an insulator. Most of the times it is made out of rubber, and you've got different colors. If you take your plug, for example, if your dad's not using the plug anymore, take that electrical wire that goes into the plug, and then you see that on the inside you've got different colors of wires. Different insulators have covered the copper wire. Okay, you've got yellow, you've got red, and so on. You've got black. If you remove that insulator or that rubber, you will find that on the inside you've got copper wires that look like that. Okay, so copper is very soft. It's a very soft wire. You can actually bend those wires on the inside without any problems at all. It's ductile, can be drawn into wire. It's malleable. You can see there it's been hammered into sheets. It's shiny. Definitely there's the shine. Used to make electric wires because it conducts heat and electricity very well. It can be made into ornaments and weapons. Copper does not rust. You can throw that copper wire into a glass of water, leave it there for days and days. When you come back, it will still be the same color, which is reddish brown in color, without any rust at all. Alright, then our next mineral is aluminium. Aluminium is very light, but very strong. It is used to make aircrafts, cars, tins, and foil. There's more of aluminium on Earth than any other metal. Aluminium is malleable. It's got low density, meaning it's not very heavy, does not rust, conducts heat and electricity. So, one fascinating property about aluminium is that it is very light. Can you imagine if our aeroplanes were made out of gold? Gold is very heavy. Then the aeroplane would not be able to take off at all. It would be just too heavy for it to take off. And so we use aluminium instead, because it is very strong, doesn't rust, but it's light. So it makes it very easy for our aircrafts to lift off the ground, because the material that they're made out of is not very, very heavy. It doesn't rust. Take your foil, for example, from the kitchen. You drop it in water, leave it in there. You'll find that there's no rust that accumulates there. So these are some of the products that are made out of aluminium. And I'm sure you've got most of these in your kitchen, and you've got most of those maybe in your garage and in other places. Alright. So, those are some of the most important properties of some common metals that we find in South Africa. Alright, then we move on to our next one, which is the properties of zinc. Okay, zinc is used to cover iron so that it does not rust. It's used to coat the iron so that it doesn't rust. For example, I've given these examples before. You've got that. Your corrugated sheets, you've got your water buckets. These have been coated with zinc so that they do not rust. If you take a nail and you scratch this bucket, you'll find that it will start to rust by the scratches there, because you'll have removed the zinc that protects it from rusting. Zinc is malleable, it's shiny, it's got a low density, it's bluish in color. Okay, so here you've got some nuts and bolts that have been coated in zinc. And then we've got properties of stainless steel. Stainless steel is strong and can be cleaned easily. It's used to make utensils and cutlery, e.g., for example, knives, forks, and so on. It has got that shine, it's got the luster, and it's silver in color, shiny silver in color. Alright, so those are the properties of our common metals, and our activity for today is on page 69, activity 6. You should be in a position to do that one without any problems, and I will post the memo or the answers to that activity in our next slide. Have a good day. Goodbye.